Today I visit with Don Luper from Sedalia, Missouri. Welcome, viewers, and if you would, please join me in welcoming sculptor, designer Don Luper to the Spotlight on the Arts. Mr. Luper, welcome to Spotlight on the Arts.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're going to learn a lot about sculpture and maybe where art is today, designing, etc. So stay with us. Well, first, I'd like to ask you, I actually met you at the Joshua Highsmith reception at the Liberty Center recently.
Yes,
I've been looking forward to meeting Don for years, but finally ran across him and found out how to get a hold of him. And here we are today with another informative, educational, possibly interview here on Spotlight on the Arts. If you would, Don, if I may call you by your first, can you tell us a little bit about Don Luper?
Born and raised in Missouri, country for almost all my life, so you'll notice that in the accent. Engaged when my wife-to-be was 16, married when she was 18, I was 21. Decided to pursue a career in the arts. I was involved with a little bit of bridge construction before that time. So, life happened, and next thing you know, I'm in a classroom, and I spent 2 years at State Fair Community College, and then transferred out of there, went to the Art Institute in Kansas City, where I received my BFA in sculpture, and then I received a ride to head over to the University of Missouri under B. Clark in the ceramic department, and that's where I did my MFA.
I see. Yeah. So you have a spread on education, technique, what have you, which we're going to learn a lot more about today. Well, if you would, what keeps you inspired, let's say, or what first inspired you to follow designing sculpture, what have you? Did that bridge work have anything to do with that?
Bridge work definitely had everything to do with scale. It's really difficult for me to make anything small. I blame that on bridges. I think for me, there's always been this need or desire to actually make something, create something, think about something. It's just, I don't know if there's ever real inspiration other than it's just there's this desire and need to create something, and if you don't, you just you don't feel like doing anything else.
Oh, I see. So we say it's kind of in our DNA, and drawing on the bedroom walls. At college, Missouri, when I was a kid, I talk about that a lot, and then soon you're basically doing the artwork on the boards for the schools that you attend, and what have you. So is there one person that really kind of brought you to the idea of making sculptures like the one that we're seeing now on the screen? Your young lady at the entrance of your...
the metal girls are coming out of my experience with the motorcycle industry over the last 10 years. Got an invitation one year to head out to Sturgis and show off some of my drawings, but at the time none of the drawings were really motorcycle based, so once I accepted the invitation, I actually took several drawings and just threw motorcycles in behind the girls in the pictures, and that's kind of how that grew out of. I thought I could adapt to that type of artwork in the sense of not so much artwork, but more about that marketing.
Oh, I see.
Receiving a Harley Davidson license, trying to, reach your hand inside that corporate world and,
Right.
get a little cut every time,
Maybe,
Harley
yeah.
Davidson sells some. Played around that scene for a couple years, and I'm not the kind of guy that can drag around display walls and just start stacking work on top of one another. I found it's just, and you sit out there at Sturgis for 10 days and I'd rather be on the motorcycle riding through the hills than
yes.
sit here selling work. But that's kind of where the girls came. The metal projects kind of come out, and I have no desire to sell them. I have no desire to give them away. They're pieces that I'm building because I just want to build them, and we'll put them out here on the property.
And you're partial to them.
It's not even that I'm partial to them. I just, the idea, the concept of, you make something and you sell it, then you're done.
Right.
Or I can make something, create an environment here, develop an experience, and people can come here and pay me to drink and sit around and look at them. So that's,
yes.
I think it's just, for me, it's turned into a different approach as far as, making money off what it is I do.
Right.
For years I did a lot of ceramic water fountains, and, and those were fairly successful, but, water's water. Water has a mind of its own, and water does whatever water wants to do, and it just turns into a big headache.
Oh, I see.
And that's really, I did the water features for years, and after the water features, that's, and it all honestly started in figure drawing class that I was teaching. I was just sitting around starting to draw figures again like I had done for years, and then the more I drew them, the larger they got, and the closer and closer they got to life-size drawings, and that turned into something else, and then that turned into something else, and but as far as what got me even started, it's funny. It was my grandmother. My aunt owned a hobby shop, and this was right during the height of Bob Ross, and Bob Ross had all of his little trained Dominicans that were running all over the countryside, and one of them showed up at my aunt's hobby shop every Thursday night. And
oh, excellent.
so at the age of 14, I was being marched down there to paint with 10 other 70-year-old women. So
I see.
But it was, that was the connection. That's what kind of got it started.
Give you the idea that you might be able to create.
Yeah,
I understand you're creating from your heart. You don't let go of. I have paintings I can't let go of to this day.
And see, I'm honestly just the opposite. Once I'm done, when I'm done with the piece, I'm done with it. I really don't even have a desire to keep, even though I've got pieces of mine around, but I would say throughout my career, I probably have destroyed 90% of what I've done. I have zero desire in the finished product per se. I'd rather, it's the time spent building it, thinking about it, and maybe even the months, years ahead of time, just pre-thinking before you even start doing anything.
Oh yes, so it's like me. I like to have it installed here first.
Right.
The idea comes and you think on it for months maybe, and then all of a sudden you try to get the materials and what have you out and begin. Well, you've created a beautiful home here. We'll take some footage of that and share that. So I see your skills have come forth even in building this new home.
I always try to explain to people. To me, I think probably what inspires me more than anything is just watching, construction workers.
Yes.
People with those type of skill sets, and just picking up on it, and they might do something a little different, a little unusual that that we're used to seeing, and then it's like, well, hell, how can I apply that to this process? And
yes.
So I carry a lot of experience over from years of working with steel, concrete, woodworking. I don't know that I'm a master of any of them, but I understand them very well.
Now you spoke of folks coming to your home here and your studio, and viewing some of the work. Is that an open invitation, or can that be scheduled?
Well, so so I'm scheduled to retire in a couple years from teaching at State Fair Community College. I'll have I think service-wise, I have over 30 years in, but my long-term goal was always just to kind of create a facility in which people could come, sit down, enjoy, have a glass of wine. I have no desire to make wine, so technically I don't know that I can call myself a winery. But sell some wine, eat some cheese, sit out and look at the koi in the ponds, and look at artwork. I've really got a desire for how to describe it, unusual landscaping, and a lot of that I think we're getting ready to start, so a lot of that will be on display.
I see.
A lot of ideas that I've had for 30 years and really never had a place or a reason to pursue some of those thoughts, so that's kind of my thought, is just basically turning this facility, this 5 acres, into a personal sculpture garden,
and invite friends.
And invite people to come and enjoy it, and if they want to, great. We're more than welcome to come.
So you have venues that some of your sculptures are at this time, other than the home grounds here. You have a Dom, I believe.
Dom Museum, Bothell Regional Hospital has a piece. I mean, I've got pieces throughout the country, and but again, a lot of those were early commissions that back in 15 years ago when I was really kind of focused on that arena within the art world. And like I said, I just kind of woke up one day and go, I'm kind of tired of doing it this way. And I don't know, for some reason I just kind of thought, I just get back to making it because I want to make it. Make it because I enjoy making it.
Yes.
The only problem with public work is, and private commission work is, there's always somebody that's got an opinion or feedback. Wants to, hey, why don't we tweak it this way just a little bit? And it's like, don't really want to go down that path. But since you're splitting the bill here, so I guess we'll.
Oh, I see. On a commission basis, yes. So you have to sort of listen to that suggestion or critique,
correct.
I guess, to make them happy, I guess. Well, it's about time to take a break. After the break, Don will talk about the subject matter he likes to basically use, the materials, use his special ways, maybe, a look at some of the favorites in the studio and here around the home. Plus, we're going to get into the discussion of the current state of art, where it may be heading, in his opinion, and the impact that technology now is having on it. So there's much more here on Spotlight on the Arts. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Creative, connection, control. Support the arts and be the change.
Stream Spotlight on the Arts on GIAJ Global Media OTT Network. Google us or find us on Roku, Amazon Fire.tv, or Apple.tv.
Hi, I'm Rick J. And I'm Jeffrey Perl. And we're here to introduce you to GIAJ Global Media OTT Network. Hope you'll tune in. Tune in and watch all the great shows by independent producers, music, and film, and podcasts. Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and or Google us on GIJ Global Media Network. It's a free download now. Thank you.
Well, Don, let's talk about the current state of art, where it's going, in your opinion, and maybe what you see maybe as another avenue to release some of your inspiration and passion for the new technology. So give us a little talk on what you see, where you think it's going. I know I was told recently that people are looking at more at the art than they are the artist, and that's where the marketing, the sales are going. But so maybe you can share a little bit about where you think the state of art is at this moment, 2022.
Well, I honestly don't think anybody knows where the state of art is currently.
I think that's a good answer.
I think we are in a time of major transition, and I don't know that anybody's really figured out what that transition. I think a little over a year ago when the whole NFT, the non-fungible
Yes.
token thing, exploded on the blockchain. I think that might be one of the largest kinks we've seen in a long time within the art world. I mean, the concept and the idea of going out to, having to find that gallery space, find that representation,
Right.
do that long-standing tradition. That NFT market comes in and says, hey, you don't have to split your money with anybody. If your NFT resells, you can get a commission off that resale every time. And it's like, that sounds pretty good.
So you do like the idea of the NFT, the non-fungibles. I've recently invested in
Oh, did you?
Start on Chance,
Yeah.
and they're starting babies, as they call it, which is they have taken and developed a cartoon look like characters of all the stars. Are you familiar
Yes, I am.
with Stardom.chance? So I've invested there, and you're invested.
Well, I hope you're doing well.
Well, right now it's hard to tell what's going on, in my opinion.
Well,
so,
yeah, the NFT market has had kind of a major downturn. And of course, we just recently had the big
FTX.
FTX cryptocurrency debacle. So I think the whole the crypto market, the NFT market, I think it's on
yes.
shaky ground. Obviously, I do believe it'll come back. I think I think it grew way too fast. Needed to get a little smack to get back down to a normalcy. Yeah.
It's right now, I'm just kind of hanging on. Maybe it's time to request a refund.
I think where we're at is, even if the NFT is not the answer, I think artists, and especially young artists, have now realized that there's probably other and better avenues for them professionally,
Right.
in order to move their work, to make a living at this. I think one of the biggest injustice that the entire art education has done with students over the last 60, 70 years is they really didn't train them on how to earn a living at this.
Marketing, especially.
They really, and I think in some way, that has really come back to haunt the art world.
Yes.
Because now we have kind of the old establishment out there that are kind of panicking because, we can't get anybody in the gallery down the street's closing, gallery over here is closing. When in reality, you kind of did that yourself.
Exactly. If you remember, any followers that have been following the program since 2016, Gary Lucy actually did an interview on marketing, and he said the biggest failure for the last 20 years is that none of the universities and other colleges, as Don has said, has really laid out a marketing plan that some young student could follow. Now you have students. Are you teaching sculpture and art?
Right. So So I'm responsible for ceramic, sculpture, and drawing classes at State Fair Community College. So when the NFT thing kind of came around, and I kind of got a little interested, even knowing that I was interested. I mean, my work really don't fit that arena, and I wasn't a digital guy. I've never been a digital guy. Just so happens one day the IT guy's walking down the hallway, and he goes, "Hey, have you played around with that virtual reality at all?" And I said, "No, I haven't." He says, "Well, you might try looking into it." And I thought, okay, sure, whatever. And I don't know, a month or two passes by. And somehow or another, one of these NFT guys that I was looking, one of these NFT artists I was looking at, just so happened to be using, some VR technology. And I thought, that's kind of intriguing. So what I do, I jumped on YouTube, of course, where everybody goes to learn things these days, and I started coming across videos of not so much artists per se, but a lot of 3D designers and those types of folks were inside these VR headsets, going into this sort of virtual world and doing three-dimensional objects in it. And I thought, well, hell, this is super cool. So, and it's been almost exactly 1 year since I bought my VR headset, and now it's a big part of our curriculum in drawing and in sculpture class. You say, well, how can you draw on a VR headset? Well, it's not so much that we draw, but we, instead of going out and taking a picture of a landscape, why can't we go into a VR headset and create our own environment?
Sure, yes.
So you create your own environment. You can walk around, take some photos of that, and then download it.
Yes,
and then you have your image that you can use as a reference. Then to do an illustration, large painting, whatever it is, what you want. From a 3D standpoint, and what I'm really intrigued by as a sculptor, and to be honest, I wish I had this 30 years ago. I mean, first of all, I would have saved a ton of money in material.
Sure.
I wouldn't have had to throw probably 90% of what I created away.
Right.
Because you can go in there and you can get a sense. I mean, I can tell if it's 1 foot, I get a sense of how big it's or what it feels like at that size.
Right.
I can enlarge it to 30 feet and walk around it in a virtual world, and now I have a real experience as far as what it's like to be around that piece. And so I've got a couple projects that I'm working on right now, and I've created both of those projects in a VR headset.
Right.
Because for the first time now, I can actually create it.
Well, it's another avenue of creation.
Yeah.
I can see where Don's coming from, because I love, even on the program, to design my own openings and what have you through the digital networking, what have you. Right. So I enjoy it even at my age, and I think I agree. I think it's a good place to be.
Yeah, and I try to explain to everybody it's a tool.
Yes.
It's not going to replace painting, and it's not going to replace traditional sculpting senses or working on a potter's wheel or anything like that. But what it does do is gives you another avenue to search out ideas, work out ideas, see ideas really all the way through to the end, and go, all right, I've got time, but I have no money involved in this. I just, do I like the direction? Do I not like the direction? So I think that's probably what I respond to most about that current technology. And if I want to take it further, I could 3D print it. I could 3D scan it.
Right.
And then I can 3D print it out of styrofoam if I wanted to, which is what most foundries are doing now. Most foundries would rather you bring in an object about this big so they can scan it.
Scan it, computerize it, program it in to the sculpture machine, what you could call it. I'm familiar with that also.
Yeah, and so I mean
metal fabrication.
Right. And again, it's just it's a different tool. I know the big thing out there right now is AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And, I try to tell everybody, I mean, if you think of it as a tool to help generate some of your ideas, but understand that currently I believe that AI kind of has a general look about it. I mean, all AI has in artificial intelligence has to reach out and pull from sources.
Well, you have so many avenues now, and you've spread out in your art world, I guess what you say. You do commissions. Can you give us that contact information you'd like to be reached if someone would like you to design a metal piece or a sculpture or AI?
My email address is Don Luper Studios, DonLuper Studios @gmail.com. Probably the best way to get a hold of me. I rarely answer my phone. I just don't like answering phones. So.
But you will text.
But I will text. Text now. You can reach me at 660-553-1990. That's my phone number. So if you want to send me a text, that'd be great. So.
Oh, great. Your favorite pieces. We'll be going to a outside and to the studio with a little bit different setting, and we'll talk about those favorite pieces, etc.
Okay.
So. Oh, there's one of your sculptures.
Yeah, there's one of the sculptures. Early ceramic piece.
That's a good shot.
So those are solid clay. Yeah, so I think this is a prime example of my sometimes insanity. I have to give my wife credit. I just show up one day and start digging, and she's learned not to say anything. She just lets, hey, well, all right, go for it. You know, we'll discuss it later. But I think it's a prime example of what I like to do. I mean, this is about designing for me. So this is what I enjoy doing. So whether it's a sculpture or retaining wall or throwing in some forms for some footings, those are the things I enjoy. To me, they're all sculpture. So.
And you have the lady that will be visiting here in a few moments. A pad placed.
Yeah, she'll be
in the water
over there. She'll have a pad. She'll have a large garden hose, and she'll be shooting water across the pond.
And you are forming up here in front of us. Retaining walls.
Yep, for retaining wall, getting ready to. Again, I need to work with steel, so instead of putting up wood form for the sidewalks, I encase them in steel.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so. Come on in.
Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our discussion on with sculptor designer Don Luper. Well, Don, before the break, you shared a lot of information. I guess we'll continue along those lines of thought and expression. Can you describe your types, I should say, of work? Since we're in your shop now and looking at a metal fabrication piece.
So, stainless steel, I guess the best way to really probably describe this process is, so we've actually changed, and I say we, and I need to be sure to give a shout out to my three of my helpers, and that is Liza, Julia, and Megan. These are all three young ladies that put a considerable amount of time of welding in on each one of these projects that we've been working on. So really, I think right here shows you a pretty good example. This is step one. So we're putting a lot of pieces in, creating the shape. First layer of welds. This will be a second layer of welds. And then a whole lot of grinding. And I mean a lot of grinding. It's just, lots of grinding.
A lot of grinding.
A lot of grinding. So these are all MIG welded. We use a MIG welder on this. So to give you some idea, the first one, the one with the lady standing up, I think we were at 30 pound spools of MIG wire on that. So
wow.
She's probably weighing in around 1,500 pounds. So, first one, 2 years to build her. But that's because, we probably made more mistakes than we made the right steps. So that we gotten a little bit better with this one. So we're hoping to have her mostly finished by springtime. So
springtime of 2023.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the goal. Don't know if we'll hit it, but is our goal.
Excellent.
That's for sure.
Now, will this lady be
All right, so this one,
Presented.
I think we've kind of discussed the first one. The first one is she's a water feature that's out in the pond, so she looks like she waded out in the pond. It's got a garden hose spraying some water out there.
So she'll be having a garden hose with a spray going out across the lake.
Going across the lake. So maybe to back up a little bit, the name of my place is called Nappy Dreads. And so when you first pull up to my property, there will be a large sign that says Nappy Dreads, and it looks like she just finished painting it because she'll be leaning on a paint bucket.
All right.
So that, again, kind of almost like Route 66, sideshows as you're driving down the road, you see something, you got to pull over. And take a picture with it. So
right.
It's kind of going along that same kind of theme in a way.
Right. Now, so your materials that you use, basically, you talked about a TIG welder, and so this is aluminum.
This is stainless steel.
Oh, stainless steel. Wow.
So what we generally start out with is a metal grid structure. From that grid structure, once we get her all lined out, then we go back in and start piecing in. Now we have changed it up a little bit, and we've actually pulled in kind of a really old school process where we've actually started sculpting parts of her out of plasticine, and then we make molds of it, and then we actually form the metal to the molds, even though you don't get a perfect representation of what it was you had a plasticine, but it gets you close enough in the realm that you're not cutting off huge chunks of metal and tossing it out the door so you can fix what you screwed up.
So you definitely work with a mold, and do you start with a sketch, or is this just basically in your head?
Photos, so we basically do photos. That is kind of, we do a photo shoot, kind of get the general idea of what it is we want. From that photo, we can take measurements and get pretty much all of our sizing down pretty accurately.
I see.
Yeah.
Method to the madness, you could say.
There is a method.
And if not, you waste a lot of materials probably.
Well, I would say the first one we built, we built her twice.
Oh,
That's how much material we
So
wasted.
okay, so it's
Because, we jump ahead of ourselves. We'd go in and start sculpting an area, get all excited about it,
right.
finish it, and then once you got to the next section, you were like, well, that part really don't work now. So we had to cut that part off, and again, it was
And
just, we learned to slow down. And,
So that's about it. A lot of grinding. Now, so she'll hold up in weather.
She will not rust.
She'll not rust, but she may show a little bit of a colorization with the.
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, the other one, which by the way, the first sculptor's name's Liza. We call her Liza. She's been outside now for several, about 4 years, I guess, and looks the same today we pulled her out of the studio.
Right.
So.
Well, is there anything else you could add, Don, to this this interview and this sculpture, or your inspiration, your continued dream in creating your type of art? This is in design. It has to be design, sculpture, what have you.
I would just tell people out there that, just build things because you want to build them. If you build it, as they say, they'll come. Just take your time, build, and don't get so wrapped up in trying to make everything perfect all the time. I always try to tell my students there's a lot to throwing things away. Learn not to attach yourself to every mark you make. Just relax, let it go.
Right.
You'll find that creating is a lot more fun.
Well, that's my theory on setting goals is with the youth, that goals have a beginning and an end. But if you just go with it, it doesn't have to end. It can be a lifetime dream that you hang on to and keep working at, and it will end maybe, and possibly not. There are artists that we know of, then their dream goes on with the viewers, what have you.
I always
Don't
tell people I'm just a reformed redneck, so I just, I do the best I can. That's all I can do.
Yeah. Well, thank you once again for the interview.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, that wraps up another inspiring show here on Spotlight on the Arts. Thanks to you viewers for watching worldwide. Rick J saying stay healthy and safe. See you next time.